Life's about feeling good. If you want it, you should.
We're back for the second and final episode of Boat Shopping.
You know, we've looked at a lot of boats. We even made an offer and lost out. But now we're going to show you our 3 finalists.
Are you stuck? Caught on the hamster wheel of life? Is your work-life balance out of balance? We have been there, done that, been caught up in the job, and forgetting about what matters. Being balanced, centered, and happy. So follow us as we pull our anchor and take you along on our journey from chaos to balance.
We looked at a lot of boats. I can't even say how many, you know, between virtually and then, you know, physically, we looked at a lot.
Yes.
You know, and we found things about all the different brands that we really liked, like the Carvers. You know, we really liked the interior.
Yeah, the salon was nicely set up. The galley was really nice, open and a lot of storage in there. And it looked right into the salon, so that was really nice. And then you went up into the pilot house, which was pretty nice. Nice dining table there. You could sit there and do your work or do whatever, you know, when you're underway.
Yeah, they definitely had the space, but there was just something about they didn't have that boaty feel. You know, they had, to me, it was more of a camper feel. And, you know, I knew being on the different types of water we were going to be on, we wanted something that could handle the water, something that had the weight that could, you know, really had a hull design for it. So, you know, for us, the Carvers just didn't quite fit in the end. You know, we looked at Ocean Alexanders and Main ships.
Yeah.
Nice boats.
They are very nice.
Definitely made for water. I mean, they can handle, you know, they can handle bigger water when it comes.
And it was nice on the outside where it had, you know, where the dogs could walk along and not feel that they might fall off. So that was really nice. But the inside was just really small for us to be on the boat as long as we're going to be on the boat.
Yeah, space just didn't work in the end.
Yeah.
I think. And then, you know, we obviously, we looked at Sea Rays and we loved the Sea Rays, but the Sundancers just didn't work for what we want to do. We really like the motor yacht. So the 390, the 480, we really like those boats. But, you know, after you saw in the last video, we looked at one and it just didn't fit what we needed to do. So, and then, you know, we looked at sedan bridges. But there we start to get into height issues and, you know, how much work we'd have to take stuff down to be able to go through the low bridge.
Yeah.
And, you know, in this video, you're going to see a 540 motor yacht. And this one we take very serious because we both really like that boat and we really like the layout of that boat.
It was beautiful.
We looked at Navigators.
Yeah.
Really liked the Navigators. We thought their layout was like a Carver.
Yeah, it was very nice, but the window issues. The
Yeah,
leaking
it
windows.
seems everyone we looked at had leaks, you know, leaking windows and, you know, varying level of damage inside from the windows leaking. So it wasn't perfect. And we also looked at Grand Banks and DeFevers, and we didn't go very far into the tug side of things. You know, obviously, if you watch Floyd and Savi's videos, they really like the tugs. But, you know, for us, I don't know, the DeFevers were super expensive. The tugs just didn't make a ton of sense. And then we looked at the Hatterases. We liked the layouts again, but they're big, they're heavy. They also have height issues, and they have a big draft. And, you know, that was something for us, you know, keep an eye on the draft was something we're concerned about. You know, and then I think in the end, it comes down to finding the layout we like.
What works for us.
Right.
And the time frame that we're going to be on it.
Yep, exactly. And then matching that with good mechanicals. Because that's another big thing we really found in this boat shopping experience is a lot of things were said, but when you got there and really started looking, this is without even the survey, things were quite a bit different.
Yes.
And I'm glad I have the experience in boating that I do. I'm glad I was a mechanic at a dealership. Probably saved me spending a few dollars doing surveys that boats would have failed.
And also finding a great broker.
Yeah.
You know, we basically kind of stumbled upon him and a great broker is what you really need.
Yeah, and it happened right at the end. It was right when we were in our last 3 boats that we were looking at, trying to make our final decision. And, we started off with a broker up in Vermont, and we told you in the last episode, she just disappeared. Never called, never texted, just disappeared. And then, we had another broker who wasn't our broker. It was the broker of a guy we were trying to buy a boat from, but he was just, he was a piece of work. I guess that's the only thing we could say. He was kind of rude to us, rude to the person he was representing. Hopefully he's out of the business, but in the end, we found Tom. We really like Tom, and he did a great job for us. So hopefully you enjoyed the episode. The first boat we're going to talk about, well, it's a 1998 Hatteras 52 Sport Deck. Now, this boat was located on Lake of the Woods, which is a lake that's in the U.S. and Canada. It's in Manitoba, Ontario, and Minnesota. Unfortunately, it was in the northern part of Lake of the Woods, so we had to fly into Winnipeg, rented a car, drove about 2.5 hours over to Kenora. Then from there, about 20 minutes down to Northern Harbor Marina. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about Lake of the Woods. It's a beautiful lake. Over 14,500 islands, 65,000 miles of shoreline. It is the 6th largest freshwater lake in the U.S. behind the Great Lakes. And Kenora is a great vacation town. From the geyser to the Muskie statue, there's so much to do. So once we got on and started exploring the boat, a few things stuck out to us right away. So cosmetically, it wasn't super clean, but it was cosmetic. That you could tell just the maintenance that had been done to the boat by looking at the lines and the fenders. They were dirty. The anchor and tackle was great product. It was really good. It's a Rockna 55 kilo anchor with all chain rode. Over 250 feet. So very good setup, very well set up, nice window cover, and it's the layout we love. So wing doors on both sides. It has the access to be able to put the tide ride steps on either side of the boat through the rails. It has the power cable and the utility hookups available on both sides, and their Glendenning power reels to bring in the cables. So from that standpoint, again, looking past the cosmetics, we're really liking what we see, in our initial. And then as we step into the aft deck, this is the part we loved about those 50-foot sport decks. Now, this particular boat had a lot of furniture in it as well. We weren't super excited about the carpet color. It was a bit something else. And again, a lot of stuff sitting around in the boat, but we can see past that. We really love that large swim platform in the back. We could see lots of uses for that. And then the owner had done a lot to the boat. Now, when we look around in this aft deck, he has his signature on a lot of things. So you see that curtain there that's above the window. He had installed that, done the valance. You see the TV there. That's a custom cabinet. So he had taken a set of doors out of there, built a built-in that allows the TV to recess. And then this cabinet here, when you open it up, it's got all these drawers. Just a great job of utilizing the space in the boat. So as we head up onto the flybridge and get a look at the helm, again, the custom sticks out. You saw the little storage compartment on the port side there. There's also one on the starboard. He has the foot recess there. And then the big work that was done was on the dash. So typically this dash would look like the picture here, the inlay, plexiglass covers, countersunk gauges. It worked, but it didn't look modern. This is a very modern look that he did on the boat. A great job. And again, one of the reasons why we kind of fell in love with this boat was it was so well done. Now you can see the covers off on the radar arch. He was still running some wires. He was trying to install some cameras. And then lots of seating, room for 2 on the starboard side, room for 4 to 5 on the port. And as we head down into the aft deck again, you get a sense of the size. And then off onto the port side here, we have a wet bar, cold only. Then we have a beverage fridge with an ice maker. So now we're going to head down below into the salon. So as we go down, we enter the rear of the salon, 3 steps down. big couch, storage throughout that couch. Again, a lot of furniture. So we have the couch, the end table, there's a chair and an ottoman over on the side. A little more than what we would like to have in place, but there's a lot of storage there. We really like the couch for that. We didn't care for the flowers, but we like the storage. Then on this side here, you have kind of the entertainment center. So here he's got his KVH, his satellite TV, receiver. That is a televator there, and beside the televator just forward is an ice maker. So really nicely laid out salon. Now as we look forward to the galley, there's two more custom pieces here. So you see that cabinet on this side and the cabinet here. Those were both custom built out of teak to give themselves some more storage for glasses and dishes. Then as we enter down into the galley, we have the dinette to the starboard. Now this dinette does make into a bed as well, so that's a nice feature that would give us the ability to sleep up to 8 people. Don't know that we'd ever need that. Then when you get into the galley itself, nice big sink, lots and lots of storage. There was no shortage of storage on this boat. It has a convection microwave, a typical grill or cooktop, and then a fridge with the wood teak wood doors on it. Now down below the galley is what's called the galley sole, so there's some storage down there and also room to expand depending what else you're adding. As we go forward to head into the VIP stateroom, as you come down that first step, there is a washer dryer on the starboard side, so giving that a good look. It looks like it's been used, which is good, but it doesn't look like it's been heavily used, which is also very positive. We always like to have a washer and dryer on the boat. It just means less lugging around of clothing, and we can do shorter runs, shorter loads. As you go into the forward VIP stateroom, first thing that sticks out to you is the amount of storage. There's 4 drawers under the bed, 2 drawers on either side. The bolstering, you can see it slightly, so there was some water there. Apparently, according to him, a hatch had been left open up on the deck, and water had got in there one time. It was a few years ago, but he was always going to recover them, but hadn't. This stateroom also has its own dedicated head, so they're full heads, no wet heads on this boat, so it's a full stand-up shower, toilet, fair amount of room inside that head if you needed to change clothes, even to store a little bit of stuff in there. There was lots of nice room inside that head. So now we'll head into the aft of the boat. First stop is going to be on the starboard side. We're going to go into the bunk room. This room sleeps 2. It's got 2 nice bunks in it, the bottom bunk being slightly larger than the upper bunk. Good storage inside the boat. It's got a nice big hanging locker. It's got 4 drawers below the bed, 2 drawers below the hanging locker. And like I mentioned, the hanging locker is quite large, all cedar lined. Across the hall is the head for that stateroom, as well as it doubles as the guest or day head. Very big head here. This thing is quite large, probably the biggest head on the boat. Nice big stand-up shower. I can see that shower being kind of the preferred shower just because of the size of it. So yeah, very nice layout. So now we're going to head into the aft master stateroom. So again, lots of space. There's 2 hanging lockers in this stateroom. Again, 4 drawers under the bed. We've got storage on either side of the bed. Dedicated heat and AC back here. You see there's also 4 drawers there below the TV. I can imagine behind that TV is lots and lots of storage. This is the larger of the 2 hanging lockers in the stateroom. More than adequate for a boat. Again, shelf on the bottom gives you room to stack and store. There's that storage beside the bed. And then when we move over, we're going to see another hanging locker right behind that door. Again, there's storage there below, as well as the access to the lazarette. As you step into the master head, again, storage abounds. So full medicine cabinet there behind the mirrors, full shower, stand-up shower, nice size, not as big as that day head, but very nice size. All right, so as we head up into the salon, we take a quick look at the access to the fuel selectors. Now, this boat comes with Caterpillars, so they're 800 horsepower, 3406Es. They have right around 740 hours each on them, very low hours. It has twin disc transmissions. It is a very, very heavy-duty commercial layout. Now, the negatives to this boat: it is landlocked and it is in Canada. So that means we need to disassemble it, we need to reassemble it, we need to truck it across the border, and we need to buy a boat in another country. So those are the challenges, but we really, really love this layout. Really love the 52 Sport Deck. And the next boat is a 2007 Navigator 5400 with Volvo D9s in it, so they're 500 horsepower each. Now this boat had low hours, only 815 hours. Now we flew down to Florida to take a look at this one. We talked to the broker. They had a major price drop. This was at the upper end of what we wanted to spend, but a Navigator, they're pretty solidly built. Now we had looked at a few prior, and we had heard about some window leaking issues. So as we entered the boat, the very first things we're looking for are any signs of leaks. So again, we're looking at the outside, thinking about doing the loop on the boat. You know, one of the things that comes up is it doesn't have wing doors. So you're on the outside of the boat in the back, and you're kind of holding that upper rail that you see there, and you're kind of going along the side. It's not a full freeboard walk around. It could work, but you know, carrying bumpers and stuff. Then we went up onto the upper deck. It had a nice grill, wet bar. It had a beverage fridge up there. The helm was good. The electronics were a mix of new with some old. Nice seating. Then we went to the interior helm here, you know, well laid out again, very similar to the Carver. Electronics a little bit older again, and then that's where you access the aft or the upper deck. Now here you can see we're looking. Now we noticed right away in the salon that there is like a vinyl flooring on the wall, and that's a good sign of a water leak. So now we're extra aware, and we're really looking close. So as we go down in the staterooms, you see right below the switch there was water actually coming out of the switch at one time, and we look up, and there again we see the vinyl flooring, and you can actually see it coming apart. So at this point we're being nice, but we have no interest in this boat. It's had a lot of water. However, we are enjoying the layout of the boat. So you can see the head there in the master very well, but you see more water intrusion up above there on that panel. So taking on that boat would have meant a lot of work to get it back to what it should be. Again, the head's nice, the layout's nice. It's more of a mid stateroom than an aft stateroom. That has some pros and cons, obviously, with all your staterooms up towards the front. Then the next, over on the port side, we've got a bunk room again. Nice big bunk on the bottom, pretty good sized bunk on the top, had a TV in it. I'd say this bunk room was very similar to that of the Hatteras. Then you have your forward VIP stateroom. Lots of storage in this boat. All around the upper part, good hanging lockers, good size, but again, for us, you know, looking at it, it was just tough. We like that it was newer. It was 2007. There's the guest head that serves the forward stateroom, and the bunk room also serves as your day head. So that's that. Now we're going to head down into the engine rooms, take a look at those Volvos. Nicely laid out engine room, no big complaints, but unfortunately for us, as soon as we saw all that water damage, we're out. So this next boat is the last one we'll talk about in this video series, but this one was a 2001 Sea Ray 540 motor yacht. Now, the minute we laid eyes on this boat, we were in love. We just love the Sea Ray. It just feels like home, and it has such a great layout. Now, this particular boat had Caterpillar 3196 engines in it. So right now at this point, we're really loving the 52 Sport Deck. We found a couple others for sale, but they all had Detroit diesels in them. We did find those 50 Sport Decks, but there was enough of a difference, we really preferred the 52. So now it's 52 Sport Deck and this 540 motor yacht from Sea Ray. So our big discussion is between the engines. So this one with those 3196s, it's got, you know, decent hours. It was under 2,000. The boat had been pretty much salt water, so there was some concerns with the intercoolers, but the owner was very willing to work with us to make sure that the engines were ready to go for whatever we needed. Now, when we went up into the flybridge, it's a really nice layout. So good seating for the captain, good seating for the rest of the crew. That back couch folds down into a sun deck, full enclosed with the canvas. The canvas was definitely on its end of life. It wasn't done, but it was getting close, and you could access it either from inside or through that hatch in the back. So it would allow us to close that up and keep the dogs in. There was a TV, a nice wet bar, again, good storage. It had the beverage fridge, actually the same beverage fridge that was in the Hatteras. So it was a nice layout up there. When we get up to the helm, you're going to see some fairly new electronics with the Raymarine stuff. So we're liking what we see there. It was August. It was quite hot. We didn't have the AC on up here, so we kind of went a little bit quick, but again, nice layout. Now this particular boat, again, the Raymarine electronics, the Caterpillar, so everything looked fairly familiar to us. Now it does have bow and stern thrusters, so that was really nice. And then I think one of the biggest advantages of this boat, it actually had a yacht controller, so you could run the whole boat docking from that remote. So you leave the engines on, it goes into gear, out of gear, uses the thrusters. It's just like a video game to dock that boat. At this point, we're talking about would the boat work to do the loop. So we've got good visibility from the upper helm. We really like that. We're thinking about now, well, we're docking or we're doing a lock. If I'm up there, the dogs are there, we have that door closed, my only way down is to quickly open that door, run down those back steps, and then be able to help Lisa with whatever we're doing. And then I'm going to need to close that door so the dogs aren't running out the back and in under our feet. And then if I'm on the inner helm, well, then I'm going to have to come through this salon door, means coming back down those steps inside and coming out the salon. It can work because it has the yacht controller, but it's not ideal. Now, it had a swim platform, a hydraulic swim platform, a really nice AB tender on it, so that part of the boat would have worked very well for us. We really like the hydraulic swim platform. Makes a lot of sense. Now, as you enter the salon, you're going to come into the seating area, so you've got some seating on both sides. That works very well. All right, so now we're looking at the galley. The galley's an interesting layout. So it's a starboard side layout for most everything. You have the fridge on this side, lots of under cabinet storage, but on the other side is where your 2-drawer freezer is, with another little counter space there. Looks to be a lot of storage. As Lisa starts to open, we realize, well, there's a coffee maker in that one. The doors do slide in and get out of the way, but again, another nice big set of cabinets, but this is where the microwave is. And now this is a convection microwave as well, but again, a lot of the storage taken up by those components. Now underneath was more open storage. Now as we go up, we look at the inner helm. Nice seating around the helm. It's got a flex steel chair in it, just like the Carbers had. Good controls. They're hydraulic controls. Obviously going to a central electronic area because everything's electronic. The controls, everything down below was all fairly new, matches everything above. Sea Ray does a good job of using all the storage space. That's the access to the upper helm. You can see those glasses in the window there. Again, using all the space. Now here is where the majority of the storage was for the galley. So what that meant is if we needed plates or anything, we were going to leave the galley, go up that 1 or 2 steps there, then down a few steps here, turn, and then be, going through these cupboards here to get to the things we needed for the galley. Now we'll head into the forward stateroom, the VIP stateroom. So a nice size to this stateroom, maybe a slightly less walk around space than the Hatteras, but again, at this point we're really comparing this to the Hatteras. Lots of storage though in this boat, so a good hanging locker, but it has lots of nice storage up around on the sides. But I could definitely see that stateroom working well for us. It has its own entrance into the head, as well as another entrance, because this is your guest room head. So this serves the front VIP stateroom, and it serves a bunk room, and it's also your day head. So that's going to be a fairly busy head, the most easily accessible head. Good layout. Shower is a little bit small, not a ton of counter space, but again, it works. It's definitely not the head that we're going to be using the most, but it works. So as we exit that other entrance into the day head, we're going to step out into that kind of hall. This is where everything comes together when you come down the steps. So there's the VIP stateroom, and then we're going to go into the bunk room. So just like the Hatteras, just like the Navigator, a nice bunk room, decent storage throughout the bunk room. I really like the lights inside the bunk room. It didn't feel as much like a cave. It was fairly well lit. Good hanging locker inside there again, all cedar lined, but you can see how it kind of narrows down at an angle. So this room would definitely probably be mostly storage for us, but there's some good spots in there. Behind the door even had some little cubbies and little storage and a TV. The TV stuff for us mostly come out because we'd be using that for storage. So as Lisa shows us the lower bunk and its little cubbies, we then exit and go into the master stateroom. Again, the full beam stateroom, so you can see windows on the port side, as well as a little cubby with some the head and stuff on the starboard side. So nice layout, good closets in the boat. We again really like this master stateroom. The washer dryer is there. It is a combo. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that we weren't thrilled about, was that it wasn't separate. Good storage with the drawers, but again, I don't know if you could see that. There's a lot of angles, so they look big, but in the end, they're not all that big. So again, here we have, similar to the Carver, we have the vanity kind of in the room, and then you have your head on the starboard side, with your shower is going to be on the port side. So from a functionality standpoint, the head in the master works well. We're just not super thrilled with looking at the vanity the whole time, and then if somebody's standing at the vanity, somebody needs to get in the shower, get in the head, you're kind of bumping around a little bit. So it's not perfect layout for a couple that's going to be living on the boat, for a couple of years, but we could definitely see how that layout would be great for like a weekend warrior boat. We could definitely see it. So at this point, we're starting to kind of question ourselves, is this a livable boat for 2 years, right? We saw the galley, we talked about going through the locks and docking and the access to the outside of the boat. Yes, there is a door on the port side, that I could get out onto the side deck easily if everything we were doing was on the port side. But again, good boat, good layout. Let's head down to the engine room. So the engine room access is from the aft deck there, right in front of the cushion between that and the salon doors. And as you come down, it's very similar to a Carver. You come down into what could be considered a lazarette. So you see the Glendenning, the cord reel there. The batteries are stored on the outboard side of the generator. It had an extra, or an extension, a 50 amp extension. There were other batteries lined along the back there as well. The boat did have isolation transformer in it, as well as an inverter, so we could power at least the fridge and items as we were going down. Engine room wise, it was good. You can see here the 3196s. Dripless seals look like they were well maintained. I couldn't say this boat didn't have good maintenance. I really think it did. One of the things with the 3196s is we wanted to get a good look at the turbos, and you're going to see them pop in and out of the screen here a little bit from time to time, but the color on these turbos are more of a kind of a light beige, almost like a butterscotch color. And as I talked to the Caterpillar guys, they said butterscotch is fine. It should have a little color to it because, you know, they're run and they get hot. So, you know, the rest of it, yeah, could have had some sanding and some paint done to the engine to really spruce it up. But as I was talking to the Caterpillar guys, you know, we were really down to the 52 Sport Deck and this boat. And I asked the Caterpillar guys, okay, I'm looking at this boat. It has 3196s in it. It's been mostly saltwater. I'm looking at this other boat. It's got 3406Es in it, mostly freshwater. And, you know, it was just silence. And the guy came back on the line and he's like, you shouldn't even be looking. Go grab those 3406s. Those are like commercial engines. You can't go wrong with those. So, you know, at this point, I'm, you know, really going back and forth, and these things are popping through my head. I'm looking at the videos, I'm seeing the corrosion from the salt water, and I'm looking back at, you know, at that time we still had the video from the 52 Sport Deck engine room, and I'm not seeing any of that corrosion. Yes, the yacht controller was awesome, but they both had bow and stern thrusters. They both had a collection of spare parts for the boat. But then we came back to one thing as we were looking at the videos. So on the port side of this boat, you see a Navigator, and also a Navigator that wasn't for sale, but you kind of see it beside the Sea Ray, and it's like, I think I'd go with the Sea Ray. I like the lines a little better. But look right there in the background. I'm going to pause it for a second, and you can see 7 Seas. If you remember, the boat in Ontario was named 7 Seas. So for us, we didn't notice it while we were there, but we really took it as a sign. So at this point, we're making an offer on 7 Seas.